I think I'm going to carry that sentiment on to our next segment where we're going to talk about what Sports Card Nonsense was talking about. It's like, well, I think it's a very simplistic way to look at the hobby if that's just what your like initial reaction or your last reaction is. And so I think this is the type of stuff where it actually like reinforces that we should be happy in this space and we should be enjoying it, you know? So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode highlight brought to you by the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to support the show, simply hit that subscribe button, click that bell for notifications, and you'll be notified every time we go live. See you in the comments.
Sports Cards Nonsense. Shout out to the guys. Shout out to Jesse. Shout out to Mike, Gio. We love you. So whatever we're about to say.
Your cousin Jesse Gibson.
We are absolutely related. We just have never met and we live in separate countries, but that's okay, you know. Yeah. Alrighty. So they had a guest on recently on their podcast. So I actually found this on YouTube Shorts. Okay. And I'm sure they said this to trigger people. And they've got a reasonable amount of responses on their Instagram page about this 100%. And there's some really good responses, by the way, too. Not just like hate responses coming back. But essentially what their guest said was, if your name is not Michael Jordan, Steph Curry, or Kobe Bryant, everything else in the market is just absolutely awful. So I think that we should take this very short soundbite and we should actually break it down and answer it appropriately. So just say you were part of this conversation. What would you add to this conversation? How would you respond to that?
I would say we've been here before in the hobby.
Yeah.
And I mean, we touched on obviously sports card investors earlier.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah, if you're looking for something that's liquid, that's like quickly movable, you're right. Like, I get it. But if you want to flip after 3 days and 5x your money, those days are gone. And yeah, you get the FOMO element of release day pulls.
COVID was an aberration
spikes, right?
that couldn't continue.
Sure,
so
but before COVID, there was value in the hobby, but it just wasn't 10x. And I think people need to change the lens with which they look at the trading card world.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to spend $50 and make 5,000.
Yeah.
You're going to get, for $50, you're probably going to get a $20 card and some other stuff, and then maybe that $20 card becomes a $60 card. But if you're there for the magical lottery ticket flip, then you're here for the wrong reasons. That's my thought on it.
Yep. No, I think you've covered it in a different way to what I would have gone about it. So I actually think that was a good answer. And I think you also covered it in a different way. So when you said that $50, are you saying that you were going to buy a pack?
A pack, a blaster,
or a blaster box?
A blaster, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy a blaster. I'm not expecting to hit a $2,500 Wemby rookie or something. Well, there's no Wemby in this draft class, right? So they're alluding to, like, this reel or this short is talking about you buy your $50 blaster and you're going to get a $40 Stefan Castle.
Yeah.
Because the draft class is trash. Sure, in their rookie year, they haven't been amazing. There's a guy named Cade Cunningham that was 21, 22. And we're now in 2025 and everyone's like, oh, let's get on Cade.
All right. So actually, I think they were speaking about three different things. So I think I'll address the first one, which was the
Jordan.
If you're not Kobe, Michael Jordan, you're nothing. So I think the first thing to answer back to that is, if that is what you think, I think that you're not looking at the market hard enough. And so we've been speaking about, so the two that come straight to my head straight away is Jokic. Like, we've been talking about him being a slow burn, getting onto the train now because this is going to be good in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And essentially that couple of years became 12 months. And so now I almost feel like I did not get onto the train. I've missed that train. So that's someone who's gone up that's not named Michael Jordan. The other one that's gone up a lot this year, to the point that I'm actually worried about it, is our boy SGA. So that's two people. Okay.
I'm concerned that's a potential bubble that will burst, but
yeah. So the other one we could talk about too is LeBron James, because he's also not mentioned in his top 3. And I probably think that was a mistake on him, because it's what he was doing was a very, very short take. So let's just say he intended to mention LeBron, but he didn't. So I have to then mention LeBron James, because I think at the moment LeBron is not cheap, but at the same time, I think if you're going to be putting someone away for the long term, I think that will be totally fine.
Yes.
I think the LeBron market is going to change over the next 12 to 24 months, because he'll be signing with Fanatics, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more LeBron autographs. So you do have to keep that in mind as you're purchasing LeBron autographs today. But that's a separate issue for today.
Separate, yep.
Luka Doncic, I think, is a very strong buy at the moment, because for as stupid as Nico Harrison is for trading him away for an injured NBA player and no future draft equity, Luka Doncic is probably, if he's not going to be a top 2 or 3 player for the next 10 years, it's going to be very much surprising me, because he's just that skilled. He's in Los Angeles. He's going to have the media around him. He's going to have a good team around him. Like Los Angeles always does it. So we got that.
Yeah, they rebuild very quickly. Yep, you're right.
Then we had Wilt Chamberlain with a $1 million sale of his rookie card this year, which was then immediately resold at private sale and graded with PSA. So you could make a very strong argument that in a month or so, on one Wilt Chamberlain card, about $2 million rolled through it. Yeah?
Yep, I would agree.
Wemby is probably holding up the hobby at the moment, despite having a clot in his arm.
Yep.
And we've highlighted this the last couple of weeks. We were expecting a large dip on this guy. Let's buy the dip. We haven't seen a dip as of yet. He was down about, 4% the last time we looked. Moving outside of that, we've also got Caitlin Clark, who has sold for the highest woman's trading card in history. So she outsold Serena Williams.
Do we include WNBA in the NBA trading card space though?
I think you can, because if he's saying if you're not Jordan and Kobe and Steph, well, actually there is a new player in the game, and that's Caitlin Clark. Yeah,
fair, okay.
Stepping outside of that, now this is the next tier down, or the next 2 tiers down, but this is just, to my own heart.
Yep.
I think Hakeem Olajuwon is a very good long-term purchase at the moment. And I think a lot of people disagree with me on that, and I think that's totally fine. And then one step further down is Paulo Banchero. I think in terms of his size, his skill, what he's already shown, how good he's made that Orlando Magic team in a very short period of time.
Yep.
In addition to his current pricing. Look, I don't think his current pricing is dirt cheap, but I also think too, if you're looking to make a medium purchase with a higher upside, I think, like, what I'm trying to say is, if you're not looking to bargain basement to try and prospect on something, you want something that's a bit more solidified.
Yeah.
I think Banchero is a really good place to start. So, just off the top of my head, we've just named 8 people.
You named a fair few there.
Yeah. So I think
you've taken a couple off the list that I would have given, but
yeah. So who would you add to that list outside of what I've just said?
So Luka and Jokic, I think, were pretty obvious.
Yeah.
SGA, I would take off the list, because I think it's going to be an up-down for me,
sure.
And that's my prediction. So that's
sure.
But at the moment, he's going through the roof. So,
I still think that's a counter argument to what he said, though, right? Because
exactly
you kind of say, all these people are nothing compared to that.
We've seen. I think I touched on Cade, because I think Cade is evidence that resurgence, that year 3, year 4, there's a leap. Yeah. So don't rubbish out on the draft class.
Yeah, and he's done very well this last 12 months. Yeah.
Right? So I think Cade's back on the rise.
He's done really well, yeah, and that was actually exceeded my expectations. So,
one that I'm, and this is where we talk about, I mean, I'll go back in time and I'll say I think Shaq's got a lot of presence still in the
We're going to
collecting
talk about
space.
Shaq later in the show. Yep. So
So
you can shoot your shot now or hold it till later.
I'll
That's up
hold
to
it
you.
till later, but I think he's definitely not one that is zeroed out in the hobby and is beloved amongst, has had his impact on the league and still does to this day.
Yep.
Right? He's in the media, he transitioned to the media, so he's still a very big presence in the hobby, so to speak. But to come back to the current generation, the torch is always passed. There is always a new face to the league. And one name that I think cannot be discounted, well, two names. I'll say Anthony Edwards and I'll say Jason Tatum. These are players that may not be the instant impact that you think they are, but we saw the spike from Ant last year.
Yeah.
That kid has the personality to be the next, and this is why he spiked. He was the next Kobe/Jordan, right?
Man, okay, look, without going into his current paternity situation and child support payments, I think that he
suffers with too much confidence.
He has a lot of confidence and a hell of a lot of personality. I will grant you that. My concern with him, though, is look at his market cap and look at the people who are below Anthony Edwards. They have done a lot. And so my concern with Anthony Edwards at the moment, so if you're buying into Edwards now, I'm like, honestly, I feel like you've got a 50-50 chance. You've got a 50% chance it'll go up, but you might even have a 60% chance that it's going to come down. That's where I'm at with him.
I'll segue quickly to my criticism of market cap.
Yeah.
Because the SGA market cap, no one spent that money on SGA.
Well, some have.
A couple of people did and took all of the other cards with it.
Correct.
So
but
the real
but I think market
there,
cap is good, Ad. Like I agree with you, but you also can't discount it. Like look through market cap, and sometimes you're like, that guy shouldn't be up there.
Sure, but then
that guy's too low,
count, right?
Yeah.
So you've got a pop count that's high. So as soon as if the card doubles
number
in price,
of cards matters. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
But I think Anthony Edwards.
And Tatum's a good one for the opposite reasons. I think he's undervalued. I really do. I think if we're looking at total career, like that guy has been good.
He's almost been.
And no one is talking about the Celtics this year, which to me is a really good thing for that. All right.
There's a lot of Lakers Celtics talk being doused about.
The other thing they touched on really quickly then was what they were really alluding to was flipping boxes and breaks.
Of course, that's.
I think the optics of that to me is really poor because I think break is crying poor, and we've seen it, on people have made reels about it on whatnot and all this type of stuff. And look, it is frustrating. Like if you are not getting an outcome that you want, I get that 100%. But I would also say too, going on a massive media podcast and complaining about the flip is no good at the moment. That's to me no good. Then they really quickly talked about autographs too, and I think that's a completely separate argument altogether. But so I think there's world finances that are happening at the moment that's impacting the hobby and the ability to sell breaks and flip boxes, and that's what he's talking about there. I would also say too, it's very fragmented at the moment within the hobby space because
we're in a position of,
for example, the easy one for us is Wemby. Wemby didn't sign with Panini, and that has absolutely impacted a collector's ability to get licensed NBA autographs at Wemby, right? If you take the trickle down of all the other guys, so say the top 15 people from this year's draft, apart from Reed Shepherd and the Bazulis kid, who else signed?
Can I ask a counterpoint to this? I don't know if it's a new take.
Yeah, hit me.
A lot of cards, and we're talking bigger cards, and we're talking history. Years down the track, something happens and a card spikes. Do you think the history books are going to give a fat rat's who owned the license to Wemby's autograph back in 2025 when we're in 2037 and Fanatics has been the overlords for the better part of a decade?
So I think what you're saying is So a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about it was either was it a Logoman
Yeah. There was the Logoman
NT that
versus the
sold for
Auto.
5 times more than the other one. I think that's what you're
Yep.
trying to get to, isn't it?
Yep.
So what you're trying to say is that the unlicensed, not game worn patch is overpriced, but the RPA is underpriced, and it's 5 times cheaper than the non-autographed piece of non-game worn memorabilia. Is that what you're saying?
I'm alluding to that, and I'm also
okay. So let's take this as an example.
You've got the Star Jordan rookie now.
Mm.
That's a slightly different take on it. But
but sure.
That was denounced years ago, and now everyone's like, "No, that's the rookie."
It's actually more valuable, than the Fleer. Look, I think that people are always going to want licensed product over unlicensed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's always going to be a disparity between those rookie cards, like no doubt. But to take your point, which is I think what you're trying to say is actually, is it a good buy to buy Wemby autographs at the moment? Look, probably.
Yeah.
But I'd also say too, I think you need to further temper your return on investment expectations. And that we've been talking about that tonight with eBay and all the rest of it.
Funny because remember when we had drinks and ate chicken after the hobby hangout, and my thing about repacks was, at what point of buying a repack are you upset? Like the ROI, like when I buy a repack and if I spend $100, at what point do I feel like I've been ripped off? They're actually applying this to the general product. They're like, we're opening product and we're not seeing any value with what we're opening, because unless your name is Kobe, Jordan, or Curry, there's no value. And that's it. They're being a little bit dramatic for effect. Yeah. But that's what they're saying. Like
there's no Kobe in this. There's no Jordan. There's no LeBron. Well, there's LeBron, but no autographs.
I spend $50 on a product, and I'm not normally upset that I only got $20 of value, because there was a chance I got $1,000 of value if I popped a Kobe auto.
Look, I think that Panini definitely were presented with a very difficult problem of not having autographs signed in their products. And to their credit, if you want to say that, or that you have to give them some acknowledgement, is they pivoted pretty quickly.
Agree.
So, for example, and this is a terrible example, but this is what they did: the Donruss no autograph.
The Nordo.
That was relatively collectible.
I love it. I still want a Wemby Nordo.
Right. And so then let's move forward 12 months. So, for example, and this is the card we spoke about last week, the manga card. So that doesn't have an autograph on it, but that is...
Prismania.
What is that?
Oh, no, the manga one. Yeah.
No, the manga one, right? Yeah. So what are they selling for now? Okay, let's just say somewhere between $3,000 and $7,000 USD, right? Yeah. And so, like we don't have rookie autographs anymore. That is absolutely true, and it's not fantastic. But they've also then gone about, Kabooms are already there and all that type of stuff. Like, that's all true. But I think they're now more focused on chase cards and numbering cards, in different parallels. So they've done other things, to keep things in. So to answer your question about not getting value, look, I agree. It's sometimes when you go into breaks, you don't get a lot back, Mm-hmm. You can also get some stuff back. I don't want to go into that and defend that, but what I'm trying to say is, like, they've done different things to keep people interested in the product. Yeah.
Yeah. Here is the way that you can get in touch with Russell and myself and be a bigger part of the show. Now, if you follow the link tree to our Facebook group, that is where Russell and I put our mailbags up, our card versus card, our player versus player, our buy, hold, sell questions. All of those will go up on socials, on IG as well, using the handle @YouCan'tCompThis. Now, if you do have a more tailored question, feel free to PM us on Instagram. You can reach out in our Facebook group, and we'll be happy to respond and see if it's something that we can add to the show. Once again, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate the support and love creating this content for our loyal listeners. If you haven't done so already, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and click the bell for notifications. So hopefully we see you when we go live. Thanks for watching.